Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of On the Mark, TV and radio, here from Westfield Community Programming, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our media partners at Agawam Media and Southwick Community Television. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. And today we're going down to Bradley International Airport and chatting with Alisa Sisak, who's been on this program many times. She's the public face of Bradley International Airport. Alisa, I understand that Bradley International Airport just won another national award.
Yes, you're correct. We're very excited to bring the national recognition here to Bradley International Airport. The airport won the Condé Nast Reader's Choice Award now for the 7th consecutive year. We're really excited for this recognition and really proud of it because it speaks volumes to the passenger experience that our passengers have here at the airport, and the fact that they value all the conveniences we're able to offer in comparison to some larger airports, for example.
Well, I know I flew out of Bradley for the first time post-pandemic in March, and I had a great experience both leaving Bradley and returning to Bradley. It was just smooth all around, but I understand that a lot of new things have happened since March, both new air carriers, increased service, and some new amenities.
Yeah, you're correct. Nobody could have foreseen the COVID pandemic and what that would bring, but things have been looking up this year in particular. We now have more nonstops than we've had prior to the COVID pandemic. As you may know, Aer Lingus service has also returned, connecting us once again to Ireland and beyond. Air Canada has upgraded one of the aircraft, providing more convenient travel up north. And then, a lot of good things happening in the terminal, as you alluded to, a lot of excitement on the amenities front. We recently opened a new Starbucks, which has been something that's been sought of since I've been here. A lot of people always have asked for that. And then we have some new and renovations that are coming up at some of our other facilities as well.
Has traffic at Bradley in terms of passenger volume returned to its pre-COVID levels?
Yes, we think it's almost returned. Naturally, it ebbs and flows throughout the year as it normally does, in particular as it pertains to when people are taking their vacations, and that usually falls within school vacation time. But for the most part, we're excited to be seeing more people traveling through to the airport. Naturally, now looking ahead to the holiday season, and we anticipate it will be a busy holiday season. Hoping that people will take advantage of the many nonstops that we have added, but also that they will enjoy some of the new amenities, as I mentioned, the new Starbucks, but also some of the new renovated shops that will be coming online within the next few months.
Since we're heading towards the holiday season, it's the busiest travel time of the year. What advice can you offer people that are traveling over Thanksgiving and Christmas to be aware of to make their transition through Bradley as easy as possible?
So we always encourage people to come to the airport prepared, right? It may sound simple, but if it's been a while since that you've traveled and maybe you're traveling just that one time of the year for the holidays, sometimes you're a little bit out of your routine, your travel routine. So really arrive at the airport early, because as you mentioned, it will be busy. Arrive early, allow yourself extra time, take advantage of, online features, such as checking in with your airline online. You can also sign up for programs like TSA PreCheck and Clear, which expedite your screening in the screening queue. So there's other things that you can do like that just to expedite your experience, because at the end of the day, I think everybody just looks forward to getting inside the terminal, sitting down at their gate, or visiting one of the restaurants and shops, and then enjoying their flight.
What special advice would you offer to somebody who's disabled? I know that I went through Bradley in a wheelchair, and it was as smooth as could possibly be, and I actually arranged it when I booked my plane ticket. What do you tell somebody who needs special assistance in going through security or getting to the gate? Because there's some long walks at Bradley.
Yeah, so I think you made a good point. Certainly, I think the important part is making your airline aware because a lot of them have programs and assistance in place to assist individuals. Also, we would encourage passengers who may need some type of assistance to talk to the TSA. They have a TSA Cares program, which allows further assistance at this TSA screening checkpoint, which again, that's also an important element of the journey. But also here at the airport, we have a program which we refer to as the Sunflower Lanyard Program. So individuals who may need some extra assistance, whether it's a visible disability or hidden disability, they can take advantage of the program, and that just gives our employee community a sense that this individual just requires some extra, maybe hand holding during the process. So I think there's a lot of good programs in place. It's just a matter of making arrangements in advance of your visit. That's what's recommended.
Since some people are not really aware of who flies in and out of Bradley and the new service that's available, are there any highlights in new service that have started since the summer?
So we've had this summer, Spirit Airlines started San Juan service. So right now we have three different carriers flying to San Juan, Puerto Rico. And then Breeze Airways had several new routes that launched starting this early this year. And as I mentioned, Aer Lingus resumed their service in March. So a lot of opportunities to travel nonstop. We're at about 40 nonstops right now out of Bradley, and certainly to some really exciting destinations.
What are the most requested cities for nonstop service that you don't have yet?
I think there's always a lot more opportunity for growth on the West Coast. People always look for easier access to the West Coast. We currently have Vegas and Los Angeles service, but naturally would like to see more growth and more partnership with our airlines to bring service to other destinations on the West Coast, and then also cities like Seattle and maybe Austin. Those are popular destinations. Phoenix, those are popular destinations that we do get, a lot of interest for.
You must travel a bit in your work. When you look at other airports and you look at Bradley, what do you think Bradley's advantages over the bigger airports like Atlanta or New York or Chicago is? And what are some of the amenities that you see in some of these big city airports that you'd love to see at Bradley?
Yeah, it's really something. You're right. When I travel, it's something I do look at. I think everybody that works at an airport, we always, like to see, how can we make sure that we improve our airport and, gather some good ideas. I think, for Bradley Airport, we're just, you're a medium-sized airport that's really compact and easy to use. We provide a stress-free travel environment, which sometimes you can't tell, when you're traveling through larger airports, when you account for the traffic and parking and just the overall atmosphere inside the terminal. And in fact, one of the reasons or some of the things that the Condé Nast traveler readers were touting Bradley for is the overall relaxed atmosphere, convenient parking, easy, Wi-Fi access, all those important elements of our passenger journey. Because when we're all traveling, we want quick parking, we want quick screening, we want to ensure that we have easy access to our phones and, that we enjoy a good meal. So we look at all of that, and naturally, it's something that does impact how we view the experience here at the airport. So, for example, one of the things that we have recently launched is construction on changing how the baggage is going to be screened here at the airport going forward. We're in the midst of building a new facility where the baggage will be screened versus currently where passengers have to go to a ticket counter after they check in, they have to carry their bag to the CTX machines. And so in the future, once this new facility is live, those CTX machines will go away and you will just leave your luggage with the ticket agent, and it will take care of it from there. So it's projects like that that I think are key to continuing to improve the airport. We're also starting construction on a project to improve the passenger flow in the terminal. So in addition to looking at amenities and how to improve the quickness of some of the services, I think that projects that we're undertaking are really making an impact to the overall experience.
How many people travel through Bradley in a given year?
So pre-COVID, we were close to about 7 million individuals traveling through the airport. Naturally, but that was impacted during the COVID months or years, I should say. So hopefully we'll be on track again to reach those milestones. We're certainly, that's certainly something we aspire to, and work hard to sell the airport as a more convenient alternative to the larger airports. I think the more passengers we see, the more improvements we'll see at the airport.
How did you get it to Bradley? I mean, a lot of people do marketing and public relations, but you think doing it for an airport, it's kind of got to be a fascinating job. And how did you get there?
That's a really good question, and I think it was sure pure luck, if you will. I was excited for this role, and it worked out in my favor. I've been with the airport now for almost 10 years. It's really an exciting place to be. I love seeing individuals traveling. I love seeing family reunions. It's really special, it's really special witnessing that every day, which makes my job easier, right? When you can see really that we're not just moving people from point A to B, right? There's way more to it, to the passenger journey. And so it is something that I truly enjoy.
But Bradley, besides being a major airport for New England, is also a major player when it comes to travel and tourism, conventions and trade shows and things like that. And I know that you're on several boards of local tourism and convention and visitors bureaus and things like that. Having an airport like this is a major advantage to all the communities surrounding it because it helps them build their business. And I know Springfield has an aggressive convention and visitors bureau, as does Hartford. What role does Bradley play in that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's really important for us to have these community partnerships. And you're correct, we have a really great partnership with the Greater Springfield Visitors and Convention Bureau in making sure that what we welcome people properly here to the region, right? We're the kind of the first entry, right, into the region. So we want to make sure that when visitors to the region come, they have again the appropriate welcome. And naturally, we want to make sure that the routes are successful, and oftentimes, that does require having important partners in the community.
And when you as Bradley as a partner with a convention bureau, you can help facilitate the travelers of those conventioneers or the trade show people so that they can get to and from their work quickly and expediently. Do you have a lot of group and charter business coming into Bradley, or is that something that you're building?
I mean, we have, and as you can imagine, like even for, visitors to Springfield, we have a lot of travel that comes through. Sometimes it's as simple as having, a welcome message for those individuals coming through. Sometimes we just answer questions, in terms of the logistics, or in terms of pickup and drop-offs. And sometimes it's more, sometimes, when groups are considering this region, we provide information on the connectivity that we have and the convenience of the airport and, information on rental cars and why that may be, easier to arrange here than in other parts of the country. So it's a constant, I think, back and forth with our partners. And naturally, I think the more business they see, the better for us and vice versa. We do everything we can to the extent that we can to support their efforts. Again, because I think at the end of the day, it's mutually beneficial and benefits our region as a whole.
There's so much emphasis being placed on CT rail and the train connections, not only from Springfield towards Boston, but also in the Springfield, Hartford, New Haven corridor. And both Windsor and Windsor Lock stations are minutes from Bradley. Is there any effort or down the road to connect the CT rail stations with the airport by a shuttle bus?
I think that there are efforts that are, planned for down the road, especially as it pertains to our new ground transportation center. I think everybody would enjoy the benefit of, better public and more public transportation. I think in the short run, I do think there's a stop that makes here in Windsor Locks, which is nice, and it even goes up into Springfield. But I think, that's something that's a priority to continue to grow the public transportation and make it easier. Right now, we have the Ground Transportation Center, as I'm sure you've seen. It's been now open for about a year. All of our rental car users have adjusted very well, using rental cars. And we still continue to offer public transportation. We have the Bradley Flyer, which takes individuals, down in the opposite direction to Hartford. I believe the fare is only less than $2. So a lot of opportunity there to be looked at.
One question that you may or may not be able to answer. A lot of people like to just go watch the planes. They're called plane spotters. And you can't really watch the planes at Bradley without going through security within the terminal building. But are there any places around the airport where somebody can go watch the planes land and take off?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, we get that a lot, and I can see why, because it is fun to watch planes take off and land. So we do actually have a plane spotter program. And so we have a designated area for plane spotters who wish to come to check out planes or take pictures. There is a bit of a formal process in place if you'd like to take advantage of that. So you would just need to go to our website and fill out some information, and that way you get some credentials that allow you to use that particular location for plane spotting.
And the other thing is, if you're meeting somebody who's coming in and you don't want to park and pay or circle the arrivals area, where is the cell phone lot at Bradley?
Yes, I'm glad you bring that up. It's such an easy and important tip for passengers to know about, because it really allows you to park for free here at the airport without having to, be on the curb. As you know, parking on the curb on the arrivals level is not allowed. It's not allowed at any airports in the U.S. And we do have a cell phone lot. It's located on Light Lane, so it's only a short drive from the airport. And in essence, you can park there, wait for your party to arrive, and once they call or text you, you can drive up to the curb and meet and greet them. Again, it's free, and it's really easy to find. Only a short drive from the main terminal.
For those that are listening or watching, it's just off the Route 75 entrance to Bradley. If you go in that entrance, you make your first right. It's there. There's plenty of parking, and if you need a snack and stuff, there are the fast food places on Route 75 that can feed you while you're waiting for your partner.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, Lisa, thanks for being here today. It's a pleasure to
Oh,
talk
thank
to you.
you.
You're doing such great things at Bradley, and like all of us, I hope I get a chance to fly through there again soon.
Yes, we'd love to have you.
And Lisa, come back and tell us about the new things that are happening. We'll check in the new year.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. We've been talking with Alisa Sisak from the Connecticut Airport Authorities that owns and operates Bradley International Airport, which is your airport in Windsor Locks, Connecticut. We're going to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays 8 to 10.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer today. If you've missed a part of today's program or you want to share it with friends or watch it again, it's archived along with all the other On the Mark programs on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. My next guest is a frequent visitor here to On the Mark. It's Michael Tougias, who is the author. He was born and raised in Longmeadow, couple of streets away from where I grew up, and he's always coming out with a new book or a new project. And his latest book, which I believe is just about to be released, is called The Power of Positive Fishing, A Story of Friendship and the Quest for Happiness. And it's by Mike Tougias and Adam Gamble. And it's the story of two guys that are longtime friends who rediscover their friendship and all the questions that the world has to offer while they're out there fishing. First of all, Mike, do you fish?
Absolutely. I love being on the ocean.
Are you an ocean fisher or a lake and river fisher?
All of the above. Wherever I can go, I just find it so renewing to be out by water or in the water.
Yeah, my first fishing experience was probably in the second grade when they had a trout derby at Laurel Park in Longmeadow. Yeah. And my father got me a fishing pole and I went out and then after that became a lake fisherman and then a river fisherman. I've never been on the ocean to fish.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Laurel Park. I talk about that in my book, The Waters Between Us, about growing up in Longmeadow. The kids, they'd shoot the starting gun, everybody cast. And the pond is so small, you cast to the other side and hook a fisherman.
Yeah, I don't know if they still have that. I mean, I walk by or drive by Laurel Park, and there's another lake at Turner Park in Longmeadow. That's now part of the park system. And I don't ever see anybody fishing in either one.
Yeah, they may have stopped it. But the power of positive fishing is really a journey through midlife. The two of us together for 25 years, facing divorce, illness, job upheaval, addiction, you name it, and how important it is to have one good friend as a sounding board.
And how did you guys know each other? Did you grow up together? Did you meet along the way?
You know what? Adam is a publisher, originally a publisher of all sorts of regional books, and he published one of mine, and we met, and I thought, wow, this young man, he's 12 years younger than me, and I have nothing in common. But then he invited me fishing, and I saw a whole new side of him. This fun-loving guy, he just morphed into something very different, and that led to weekly fishing trips in the summer for the next 25 years.
How did you did the two of you write this book together, or was it primarily you do the writing and him the inspiration?
No, we alternate chapters and we go in a chronological order from, when we first met 25 years ago through midlife.
And if somebody else were going through what you're going through at this point in your life journey, um, how did you decide he was the one that would inspire you to build this friendship over the years and to write about it?
Partly because when you're on a boat, it's just the two of you on the ocean. You're trapped with that other person, and you better like them and have a few things to talk about because there's a lot of dead time when you go fishing. And I found he would view my problems with a fresh eye, for example, and offer some encouragement, sometimes possibilities I couldn't even see. And, a big part of the book is we're struggling with our careers in the early days, but by working together, he went on to publish a series of children's books that have sold 9 million copies.
Wow.
And then he manifested, and I manifested for me a book that would turn into a movie. And years later, it happened with The Finest Hours. So we came from so far from those early days when we were both struggling with our careers.
And both of you then became successful. Did that change your perspective and your friendship when you were both successes?
Not at all. We were just fishing 3 days ago, and it hasn't changed. Me giving him a hard time on he's the captain, it's his boat, but me giving him a hard time on where to go and what technique to use. So yeah, that banter is still there, and it basically the friendship allows us to be brutally honest with each other and know not to ever take it personally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated by it because I have a friend who kind of came to my rescue earlier this summer when I was going through a health crisis. And we were good friends, but it took our friendship to a whole new level of being able to be together, talk, share our lives, and the ups and the downs that we've had. And yet, I think the closest we'll ever get to going fishing is going to Big Y and picking out a fillet to bring home for dinner. Because it was just something that we've never done together. But
Right.
the understanding of midlife and friendships and how they change not only the focus of the friendship, but how the people involved change as they go through midlife things is fascinating to me.
When you mentioned about your health crisis and that one friend in the power of positive fishing, I went through a brutal breakup with a 10-year girlfriend, and different friends would reach out to me, but the one who was consistent, always just calling and checking on me, was Adam. And I think all of us need that one person. You see who steps up and who steps away when you're not yourself, when you're going through a tough time. And I use that as a barometer of, who's my inner circle to get me through some challenges or to help me achieve a difficult goal.
Well, it's the same thing. My mother taught me that you could count your true friends on the five fingers of one hand. And
Absolutely.
I've always believed that, and I've seen how those fingers change over the years. But
Yes.
3 of the 5 people that I was friends with 20 years ago, I am still friends with in that level of friendship. And I really understand that. And you're right, when you go through a crisis, the people that step up may not be the people you expect to step up. I certainly thought when I was having this health crisis and I'm lying in the ICU that certain people would be rushing to my side. They were nowhere to be found. But
Right.
the other person, this other friend, kind of came to and said, "Look, I am here for you. I'm going to help you get through this. We're going to work on this. You've got somebody." And it changed my, I was thinking of hospice at that point, and it changed my point of view. I'll go through whatever it takes because, for whatever influence he has, pushed me to want to get back into life.
The words you just said that he said to you to give you encouragement just choked me up because they're so profound. There's so much of what you need at that time. I just felt the emotion rush right through me when when you said, how he told you, I'm here for you through thick or thin. We're going to get through this together. Wow.
I mean, it blew me away, and now 4 months later, I still think about it every day and realize that if he had not come to my rescue emotionally, I would have signed over to hospice at the end of July, and I'd be on a stone somewhere,
Right.
And here I am back with my zest for life because one person took the time to turn me around. And so as I'm
Absolutely.
reading your book, and I'm only partly into it, as I'm reading your book, I'm feeling the same thing. You have this unique experience. I had it. I wonder if other people have, or whether they would step to the plate if they knew that a friend of theirs was in need.
Yeah, yep. And for those listening who may not have that friend, join a group with whatever interest you have, whether it's photography, fishing, whatever. You're going to meet people with a common interest. You're going to get together with them, and you'll see who bubbles up, and you go, "That's a solid person. They're listening as well as talking."
The last time we talked was earlier this year, and you had published a book, written a book about how to say no, which was just a really great lesson in how to be independent and free spirited and move ahead. And now you've got this one. You're always working on 2 or 3 books. What comes next after this one?
Working on the children's series. It's called the True Survival series, and there's also a True Rescue series. So those are for middle readers, age 8 to 14. There's 8 books in total in the 2 series. So I alternate from the adult book. The last one was Extreme Survival for adults, and all of these I do try to have a kind of a very subtle message of helping people through hard times. Extreme Survival, I interviewed over 100 people who should not be on the planet because of their terrible ordeal, but somehow mentally they got through. And I wanted to share how did they get through? Because we who may not be, adrift on the ocean, like some of them were, could still use those techniques through adversity.
I don't think we're ever taught survival skills. There's no course you can really take in it. You learn it from other people's experiences and your own intuition. But you certainly, in some of the survivor stories, have been able to share what other people did, and a lot of it's applicable. I mean, maybe you're not floating on a boat in the middle of the ocean,
Right.
but you're struggling in the middle of suburbia somewhere. Some of the same lessons apply to both.
Right. And I had a very good mentor that I wrote about in the book about Springfield and Longmeadow, the waters between us. And that was my father, because when my sister was brain damaged in a car accident, he took care of her for the next 40 years, and he did it with a smile.
Was this the sister that I went to school with?
It might have been. Her name was Lynn. She's passed away now.
No, I think I went to school with Sandy.
Yeah, that's my cousin.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And so I did have a great role model of, okay, you got dealt some bad cards, but I'm going to make the best of it. And I'm going to not let it change my personality. So he was still the fun-loving guy he always was, even though now he's a full-time caregiver. And I just admired that so much. And I could only achieve maybe 10% of what he did, but it did show me a roadmap. You don't have to let it take over your mood.
While we're talking here, we should tell people that your book is called The Power of Positive Fishing, a story of friendship and the quest for happiness. It's written by you, Mike Tougias, and Adam Gamble. And where is it available now? Is it in all the bookstores?
Yeah, it came out a couple weeks ago, so it's available all over and on my website, which is just michaeltougias.com, Tougias. I do personalized copies there if somebody wants to give it as a gift. And Adam was reluctant to do the book. He was like, I'm not sure. And I go, Adam, we do have some funny fishing stories in it, but this is going to help people. And I said, we're going to be very honest with what, our situations were in our younger years in midlife. And that's what hooked him. He said, I'm all about helping people. If you think by us being honest of what we used for techniques to achieve where we wanted to go, I'm all in.
Well, you have two best friends writing a book together about shared experiences and how it bettered you as individuals. Was it difficult to accept his edits of your work and vice versa?
With somebody else, it probably would have been, but knowing Adam is a writer in his own right and a publisher and an editor, and we've worked before, I think we had one big disagreement and we just worked through it. But outside of that, no, it was smooth, but only because I knew his track record. I would not recommend it if you don't know the person's track record. A couple books I've done with co-authors didn't go as well.
Yeah, I mean, since you guys knew each other so well, how did the idea, who approached who about writing the book?
I had the original idea, but all I had was the title. I said, Adam, doesn't this sound great? The Power of Positive Fishing. I said, that's kind of what we do when we're on the boat all day, 10 miles out on the ocean. We're trying to be positive with solving problems while we catch some fish. And he's like, yeah, it's a great title. And I said, now we just have to write it.
So how often do you get to go fishing?
In a normal year, we'll be out there once a week. This year, Adam, even though he's in his 50s, he married later and he's got a newborn son. So not as much this year. And that's one of the nice things about our relationship is I'm 12 years older than Adam.
Yeah, well, yeah, 12 years can be a lot, and sometimes it's nothing.
Exactly.
So you're constantly writing, and you've got all these things going. What do you do to get away from writing besides fishing?
Do a lot of vegetable gardening. I try to grow as much of my own food as I can. And currently, you asked what I was working on. That's one of the projects. It's not going to be a how-to book. It's going to be similar to one of my first books, There's a Porcupine in My Outhouse. It's going to be a really humorous look of this guy who's trying to live off, everything he can grow. And
how successful have you been at that? I have no green thumb.
Actually, I'm a good gardener, but no matter how good you are, if a groundhog decides the garden is his, you've got a real battle on your hands.
Yeah, I mean, I fought off moles, hedgehogs, blue jays, chipmunks, no matter what I try to grow. And the only thing they avoid is cilantro. So my cilantro crop thrives every year, but everything else is just eaten away. I don't know how somebody in my situation could survive off the land with all these other pests around.
Yeah, no, but it is a great change of pace from writing and from fishing as well. So with the Power of Positive Fishing, yes, there's a lot of tips on how to catch striped bass or bluefish on the ocean, a little bit about trout fishing, but at its core, it's this story of how we overcame together adversity. And recently the Surgeon General said loneliness is an epidemic in America. And I thought, how sad. Just one or two close friends can help you.
That's true, but you can have a lot of. I was talking with a colleague of mine on a show not too long ago, and he said you can have 1 million Facebook friends and you can be popular among the community, but you can still be lonely because even though you have a collection of people, it only takes one or two to have a strong relationship with to combat loneliness. But loneliness is devastating.
I know, and I feel for the younger generation because they're online. It looks like everybody else's life is so interesting, but people only post the fun things they're doing. They don't post the downtime, and everybody has that. So I fear that they've traded those solid friendships, like Adam and I and the Power of Positive Fishing, for the superficial ones, and it's not going to be helpful when they hit a rough patch.
And the other thing is, I think it's very awkward when you're having a relationship with somebody that is primarily online on your phone through Facebook or Instagram or something like that. It sets up these parameters that aren't really the same in real life. And
Yes.
you a lot of times people create a persona online, which is not who they truly are. And the younger generation is so hooked on their phones, as opposed to FaceTime for real
Yes.
with people, are really losing out on an opportunity to develop a friendship.
Yeah, and with men, it can be a little different, our friendships. And that's why, I have heard from women who are really enjoying the book. They're like, I'm getting insight into males and how their friendships work. We tend to talk more when we're doing an activity together rather than face to face sitting with a, cup of coffee. I like to say you do your best open, pouring out your heart when you're side by side. Maybe you're casting, maybe you're golfing. Men tend to need an activity, and I found that to be true.
Yeah, well,
In
I've
fact, I'm
I've discovered that as well. This one close friend who kind of
yeah,
turned my life around. We spent a lot of time. We're both journalists, and we spent a lot of time driving to the Berkshires to cover something, or driving to the Connecticut shore, and we'd be coming back late at night on the Mass Pike, and we would be
yeah.
having these deep. Um, Conversations that we normally would not be having over a cup of coffee. And our friendship really evolved and developed over these long rides in the car. And there's just the two of us. Nobody else could overhear anything we talked about. And we knew that whatever we shared with each other was going to stay with each other. And that developed over the years into a really deep, positive friendship. I don't think it would have been the same if we went for coffee at Starbucks every couple of weeks.
Totally agree, Mark. And that the power of positive fishing. We're on this boat. I call it the floating therapist couch. It's just the two of you. It's going to stay on the boat what you discuss and get through, and it works. But it doesn't have to be fishing. It could be taking a walk. It could be going birding. Whatever it is your interest is. But it's so important to keep reaching out and making new friends as well.
Yeah. You said that women were telling you they're reading this book and they're getting an insight into male friendships. What do you think is the difference with the bonding of two guys versus women?
I think men are reluctant to open up for fear of looking weak, for fear of being vulnerable, and that's not the case at all with a good friend. You can open up and show your weaknesses and where you're hurting. I think women are much better at doing that than men are. I find a few of my female friends, I open up quicker with them than males, so I'm guilty of it as well.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm very wary of men that I don't know, but I
Right.
open up easier to women that I know. But my closest friendships are with men, and again, it's like because you drove 3 hours somewhere together late at night, or you did something that was a common activity versus just sitting over a cup of coffee.
Absolutely. And study after study has shown that a few close relationships is better for your health and longevity than anything else, than diet, exercise, or anything. It's like that is the number one key. And so if there's people listening that don't have that, join whatever it is you're interested in, and I'll bet somebody from that group becomes your friend, a
Yeah,
close one.
and you can't put a price tag on friendship. I go back to what my mom said. You can count your good friends on one hand, and
Yeah.
they're with you forever. And they accept your changes. They are they're supportive. They may be very honest and say that you should consider something else than what you're doing, but they're there to be your friend and there to be supportive. And if they
Right.
critique or criticize, it's in your best interest and not because they need the upper hand.
Right. And so the message in our book is very subtle, but it's within the broader theme of when we're on the ocean, what are we seeing? And it's not just off Cape Cod, it's in Florida too. So one time it's a whale shark right next to the boat. Another time it's a hammerhead. Another time this strange creature as big as a car called an ocean sunfish. Another time I'm so locked into catching fish, but I'm in nice clothes. I take all my clothes off, fish in my underwear. When I come back, the tide's taking my clothes away. So there's a lot of fun stuff in there. So it's not, the purpose of the book wasn't to hit people over the head about friendship and manifesting for success. It's very subtle
So this is all ocean fishing that you did.
Yeah, there's a little bit of freshwater trout fishing in there, but primarily ocean fishing, either from shore or from a boat. In fact, right now I'm coming to you from a friend's house who I've known since the first grade, and we were fishing this morning in kayaks.
How great. Do you keep what you fish or do you throw it back?
Right now, the striped bass regulations are pretty strict. They have to be between 28 and 31 inches. So if I catch one within that slot, we keep it because it's a delicious fish. But we catch flounder, you name it, bluefish.
Yeah, well, bluefish to me need to be thrown back. They're not.
I love them. I love them.
I have a neighbor that goes fishing every summer 3 or 4 times on the Sound and comes back with bluefish, and I think it's the most disgusting. I don't know if
they're fresh. I roll it in breadcrumbs and then I saute it in olive oil very quickly, and boy, is it good. I've converted a lot of people just from that being super fresh and that simple way of cooking it.
Where's the best place that you've ever fished?
Boy, in the old days, it was on the flats, which are, these big tidal areas, such as the Brewster Flats, for example. When I say old days, 10 years ago, you'd see schools of 200-300 big bass, 3 feet long, just enormous. You're not seeing as much of that today, so we have to hunt a little bit harder. But we're still, Adam and I were both shallow water fishermen and top water fishermen. We love the excitement of that fish hitting your top water lure.
And on a day when you catch nothing, you at least have your friendship and your chats to make the day more worthwhile, and maybe some great sun while you're out there. Yeah,
and he's more better at that than I am. I said in the book, I need to grow up and get into that zen, because when we have a bad day, I'm pouting. I haven't got there yet.
Yeah. But that comes with more fishing, right?
Maybe, but he's much better at it. He reminds me, Mike, we just had the best day. You dove off the boat, took a swim, and I'm like, yeah, but man, we couldn't find the fish.
Yeah. Do you get to fish year round?
Yes, because I go down to Florida for part of the winter and do ocean fishing there.
That's a whole different ball game, though.
Different ball game. Adam's come down, and we're learning that. We're like two, rookies learning about the species down there and how to do it. One time I was in my kayak down there, and I said, "Oh, I'll pull up on this nice rock here in the bay," and I pulled up on it. It was a manatee, and the thing just exploded and almost capsized me. And I'm like, how stupid can I be? I thought
that my father had a house on Marco Island in Florida, and I used to take the kayak out, not on the ocean, but on the inlets that connected Marco Island and the mainland. And I more than once almost got capsized by a manatee. I was freaked out by them, but they're pretty. They're basically pretty docile things that just kind of float.
Very docile. I've snorkeled with a bunch of them, but when you try to put your kayak up on one of its backs, it just flips that big tail. I almost had a heart attack.
Yeah, that was much too much for me. Well, I think you're very lucky to have an outlet like fishing and a friend who you were able to share this incredible bond with over fishing, and still be able to write all these incredible books and on so many different topics. You always have at least one in the hopper, maybe 2, maybe 3.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I do feel blessed. And, I'm glad I kept an open mind when I met Adam over 25 years ago, because my first thought was, this young man and I have nothing in common.
Well, and surprisingly, you did.
We did, right? We just have different ways of approaching things, even different ways of communicating. I tend to spit out my first thought. Adam will always hold back a little bit, think, and then speak. So I had to get used to even the cadence of him speaking.
Well, Michael, I want to thank you for being here today. Mike Tougias' book is called The Power of Positive Fishing, A Story of Friendship and the Quest for Happiness. It's written by him and his pal Adam Gamble. It's available wherever you get your books, either online or your independent booksellers. I hope you pick up a copy of Mike's book or some of his other books, because he's written a variety of fiction and nonfiction. Some of it's made the New York Times bestseller list. Some of it's been adapted for film, and you seem to come back with a new book every 6 months or so. So I'm looking forward to a spring chat with you on whatever your next project is.
That'd be great. You are a great interviewer. I just feel like we just open up, like, it's almost like Adam and I. You do a great job.
Well, we need to hang out one day, maybe on the ocean.
Hey, that sounds good. Or when I'm back in the Springfield area, we'll get together.
Yeah, I do coffee very well in Springfield.
Excellent.
Okay, we've been chatting with Michael Tougias, and this wraps up another edition of On the Mark. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll see you next Wednesday with another edition of On the Mark.
Levaco is
LEVACO.
A-C-O. Oh. I'm going to start with the K first because that's one of the hardest letters.
Oh.
Ka.
Oh.
Ka-K, kilo.
Oh.
Killer, cola, E. coli, broken, yoko, yam, yak, lamb. Oh, I just found mackerel!
I like the way you see the world. I like your point of view. A little sly, a little strange, a little bit askew. I like the way you look at life and think outside the box. A little odd, a little off, a bit unorthodox.
Libya.
I like your point of view.
Yeah, yicky, Mickey, Ricky, icky.
I like the way you make a point. I like your frame of mind. A little quick, a little sharp, a little beat behind. I like the way you crack a joke that no one else will get. A little dry, a little droll, a little dumb, and yet
Okra, cobra, marble, barley.
I like your point of view.
Bravo, cello, limo, Rio, macro, micro, mayo, bakery.
Oh, with the turn of a letter. Oh, everything's better. I wonder how you see the things you see with a change of perspective. Nothing's defective. I wonder what you see when you look at me.
Me, my eyeball, icky earlobe. Over, clover, liquor, lickable, lovable, livable, liver, my liver, my Oliver, my locker, my blocker, my blacker olive, my rockable veil, my crab like love. Oh, that's awful.
I like the way you understand. I like the way you think. A little weird, a little wise, a little out of sync.
Clever, ever, clever. Wait a minute.
I like your point of view.
Clever, cleaver, limber, Kimberly.
I like.
Kimberly Levaco turns into.
I like.
Cleverly akimbo.
You.
Cleverly akimbo.
You.
That's a pretty good one. I did my grandmother's name and got Arabian beard.